Welcome to Recovery Unleashed, the podcast where we dive deep into transformation, healing, high performance, and recovery. I'm your host, Hannah Dalby. I'm the founder of Recovery Jungle, Recovery Unleashed. I'm an integral alchemist, food coach, a recovery expert, and also a retired professional Muay Thai fighter and current jiu-jitsu lover. In each episode, we explore what it truly takes to break free from addiction, trauma, self-sabotage, and unlocking a life truly filled with energy, success, and peace. Through my very own story of addiction recovery and raw conversations with experts, coaches, athletes, healers, we uncover the tools and mindset shifts needed to master recovery in every area of your life. This isn't just about healing, this is about unleashing your full potential. If you're ready to reclaim your life, tune in, do the work, and let's rise together. Welcome back to Recovery Unleashed. Today, I have one of my staff at Recovery Jungle, Deb Truter. She has been with me for the last year. She has gone through the most rigorous Integral Alchemy training over the last 8 months and has now become one of the most amazing integral alchemists that I think exists right now, taking our clients through huge transformations. She's been on an incredible transformation herself. And we decided to do this together today so I could tell a little bit more about my purpose with Recovery Jungle, a little bit more of my story and what I'm really trying to do. It's an amazing conversation with lots of laughs, so I hope you enjoy it. All right, so welcoming Deb to the Recovery Unleashed podcast. Deb has been working at the Recovery Jungle for well over a year now, and over the last, 8 months has been trained as an integral alchemist. Is possibly my best friend because we work so much. So we hang out together in between all of the work and undo each other's traumas all of the time, and been a really, really pivotal part of the Recovery Jungle and probably wouldn't be able to exist in the way it does without her now. So we've decided to do this particular podcast today where it gives me a chance to tell a little bit more of my story. She gets a chance to do a little bit of interviewing, and we speak a little bit about how Integral Alchemy has changed our own lives, because we are in the Recovery Jungle all day, every day, promising that we will shift people in such a profound way. And I do think that, different kinds of therapists can say that all day long, but the proof is in the pudding when you're doing it yourself really regularly, and to be a little vulnerable on the stuff that we've worked through as well. Okay, so Deb, tell us for the listeners a little bit about yourself, where you've come from, why you're here.
Okay, well, thanks, Hannah, for a lovely introduction. So, I guess sort of like over the last few years, I've ended up in places that, as well as benefiting others, providing a service for others, has also been benefited me. And this is probably one of the greatest growth periods of my life within a job. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't find you, it found me. And remember that first day, and it was like, well, am I in then? And you're like, I think so, yes. and we kind of grew from there. Yeah. So it's been I'd say probably one of the biggest years of my life in terms of personal growth. And I've been doing the inner work for a long time, but definitely since the alchemy came on board, it leveled up a lot. Yeah.
Deb's also like the most amazing person at calling me out of my shit, which is why I think she's hung around for so long. Why it's been, well, actually, no, that's a really good point, because it's like, if you have a think about staff that have come and gone and people that have come and gone in my life, it's like we've been able to move through some very hard shit because you've had the courage to be like, well, actually, Hannah, and really, really call me out, which means we've been able to have the hard conversations. You've been able to be heard. And, it's sometimes hard as a leader to know what's going on. You're just doing the things and hoping that it's being done well. And if no one says anything about what the things that they want and the things that they need or the behaviors that I might be doing, how the hell are you supposed to change?
Well, I mean, it's kind of the irony of that is that I've been a chronic people pleaser my whole life. Yeah. And I guess something in me has shifted. And this was even before alchemy, I think. So it was definitely, and I wouldn't say it was easy to do, but I couldn't not say it. But I think the important thing that you raised there was that you willing to hear me. And even though we have butted heads a little bit, we can laugh about it now.
Okay, this is a really good question. Tell me what it was like for you when you first, because you've been in, I think we're probably coming close to 18.
No, it's just over a year. August, it was a year. Yeah.
So tell me what it was like landing in the business and having me as a leader.
Different. You're a force. And I say that with that's a great compliment. Like you're a driving force. And I know that you have this great vision, and not just for yourself and for your clients, for everyone around you as well. So I think probably in the first, maybe 5-6 months, I was an observer, more of an observer. And there were moments within that where I had to speak up for things for myself. And I think that's been, received. So that's made it easier to speak up a little more and a little more. And then, of course, alchemy came in. But I think it was sort of more an observer, watching just the shifts and the changes and feeling like a little sort of dipping my toe into speaking up about things that maybe I could see and you couldn't see at the time, but so clearly afterwards. And then then it was just me and you.
Yeah.
And alchemy, I think, probably all came in at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a really massive growth period for. Well, you started it before me even. So.
Well, yeah, so I did 3 months with Gavin while we still had the larger team. Yeah. And I was working through all of that stuff. And we had a little bit of a break once that was complete. Deegan arrived on the scene.
That's right, yes. Big growth there for you as well.
Big growth there for me. And then I started learning it. I learned it very quickly. Gavin likes to tell the story of like, you've been a little bit of a easy ride for me because you learned it in 90 minutes and it was like, oh, she's off.
That's you, right, Hannah? I always say that. Whatever you do, you'll do it to the max and really well.
This has actually been in my alchemy this week.
Yes.
The fact that whatever I've done I've done it very well. I've nearly been the best in the world at things so many times. And there's someone with rules and a box that they'd like me to fit into that's kind of been there and not allowed it in a way. It was really interesting because I went into it around, we were starting to get so busy and it was like, if we get a really big influx of money, and I was seeing that about to happen, and then my nervous system went into freeze and I was like, oh, why does that feel so uncomfortable? And it was like this, well, I'm not sure if I can make the right decision if I have a big crap load of money sitting in the bank account because all of my life someone has said to me, you're doing it wrong. Don't do it my way. You need to do it my way. We know the way. Men, like some kind of authoritative men that's been my dad in a way when, after my parents got divorced and he was trying to control how the situation went and how I would do things and trying to like forge my path in his way of the way he thought was best. And then in jobs, I was so good at sales. I was like, walked into selling cars and just like blew everyone out of the water, walked into selling marketing, was number one in the country, walked into all of these things and was just so good at it. And I was thinking about it this week and like, is the reason I was so good at it because I knew a different way other than force? I would leave work early and go and train and have this other life and, do less work in more time because I would not be in force, I would be in power. Like, I can just do this really amazingly and I can fit all these other things in, not being able to cognitively say, well, because I'm training, I have more energy. Like, I don't know if I had the articulation for that yet. Something in me knew, like, I don't need to work for so many hours. I can just get the job done amazingly and go and take care of myself. And I've kind of been in that place for all of my life and done really well going against the grain because it's been what my heart has said is right and what my body tells me is right. And it's coming from a place of power, not from force. And yet male energy, masculine energy that likes to control is like, you will force, you will hustle, and you've said it this week. You watched me go in and out of force flow, because it's like come back to myself. I like try and get approval of this male energy that needs me to hustle and grind. And so when things aren't going right, it's like, I'd better listen to them.
Yeah, I've seen you travel through that, absolutely. I think the biggest indicator of when that's working is when you came back from your holiday to New Zealand. You realised the rest wasn't what you wanted, but it wasn't the force either. It was actually like a nice balance, a flow and a balance where work meshes in with life. It's not I go to work and then I have a life. It's actually, it's all intertwined in a beautiful way. And I think that, and I felt that when you were away, I felt myself land in the business more deeply. I think we were talking about this afterwards, right, wasn't it? That we do feel each other energetically. But I think that really, we could both feel that. And so suddenly we have this beautiful clients coming in. Interestingly, since you've been in a relationship, that we've had more couples coming through now. So it's like as we're walking through our path, we're, people can come in because we can help them through that next stage. And it's kind of like, I think Scott said it went from like 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. And that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
Like yesterday you were able to go out and get your eyebrows and makeup or whatever done, in the middle of the day,
Yeah.
so that's what it's about, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
bringing that feminine flow in alignment with that masculine energy that we need to run a business.
Yeah. And I've done that really well at times. Like there's been times where I'm like, oh, I'm going to go get this done. I'm going to go do this and I'll go to this appointment. And then somehow I end up back in this like just 15 hours straight a day, can't stop. And I think I figured it out this week. It's that pull between I needed love from my dad. And the way that I did that was to achieve at a really high level. Achievement meant that I got attention and that I got love. And so I want to follow there's a whole part of me that wants to follow their rules and do it in that way so that they will approve of me. And then there's a whole other part of me that's like, that is so fucking stupid. Like, no, like you need to follow your heart. So I get completely and utterly stuck in between it. And inside of all of that, I lost what was true for me in my own power and my own ability and all of these things because, I don't don't know if I explained that very well. It landed.
Well, I'm just wondering, so if you think that if you follow your way that you won't get the approval, so you want to stay like, it's almost like you've got one foot in one area and one foot in the way that is really truly your calling. But if you take your toe out of that area, you'll feel like there won't be any love and approval for you.
Yeah. And if I get it wrong, then they're all going to be like, ha, I told you so. And so then what happened is it was actually like, the way to solve this is I need to get all of my blue meme in order, which is structure and order. And also, do the spreadsheets, have the cash flow projections, know where everything is going, have your budget, where do you need stuff. I actually used to be really good at it. When I was in my 20s, I had that so sorted out. I bought my first house, bought my second house, doing negative gearing. Like my brain was so inside it. As a 12-year-old, I was like getting more than 100% in maths tests. Like my brain is very smart at it. I was very intelligent in that way. And I just kind of threw it out and went, no, I'm not going to do that. Because it was that order and structure that those people wanted me to do that boxed me in. And so I just threw the whole baby out with the bathwater. And I kind of get excited when I can see, like, oh, now this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And it landed in a place for me where it was like, if I get all of that sorted out and the rest of my life is quite good. I'm very healthy. I am very fit. My business does well. My relationships are amazing. I feel like I'm being a reasonably good leader. That everything is kind of sorted out, and it's just that stuff I just am like not doing. And so it's leaky energy.
Do you have to do it, or can you find a team that you can have to do that stuff?
I can find a team.
With overview.
I can find a team to do it, but it's my inability to look at it.
Even though you have a team, it's like people that, are very wealthy and they get someone else to sign their checks. And suddenly they turn around 10 years later and they've got no money. They need to still be involved.
Well, I need to look at it in the eyes. It's an avoidance. It's like, if I don't look at it, it doesn't exist.
Well, what is it that you're avoiding?
That I might not be as good at my job as I think I am.
Okay.
Right? So if that's all laid out and that's all in order, and then I know what needs to happen and I don't make it happen, the most painful thing inside of that alchemy session was, well, what if I can see it all there and it's all laid out and I can't make it happen? Then I'm flawed. Then I'm not actually as good as I think I am. Then I'm not actually as good as I say that I am. And it was way more terrifying to my system than having to do some accounting work. It's like the fraudulent thing, and they'll all say, I told you so, you're not really that good, and all of those things. And it's like, if it's all on paper and then I still can't make it, that's way more terrifying. So if I'm not looking at it, I'm just like, well, it's fine. I can live in my delusion. And as money comes in, I just pay the most important things. And it's like I'm comfortable in that because I can't make a wrong decision. I can only make the decision that is the most immediate decision to make right now. So it can't be wrong. It's
one step at a time type.
Exactly. And it collapsed. It absolutely collapsed. Once I processed all of that and got to be mad at all of those people for boxing me in. And, me and Deegan were talking about it this morning, in that at some point in each of those places, whether it was in jobs that I was getting really good at, whether the gym that I was at, and I'd outgrown their capabilities of leading me to the next place.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And they don't like that.
Yeah.
And they weren't willing to go and fly.
When you're a teacher, you've always got to be prepared that you want your student to overtake you, right?
Yes.
You want them to. You want them. That shows what a fantastic guide and teacher you are.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes that the ego gets involved and that becomes a bit confronting for people. I get that.
So I think that's what I experienced for like 20 years straight.
Yeah.
And the issue with that is I couldn't just go, all right, well, that's okay. I'll just go to somewhere else that can, because my sense of connection and belonging were tied to those people. I was like, but I need the love and I need the connection and I need the belonging. Yeah. You know, those people became my family, right? Like I left my state when I was 18. So all of these things that I collected along the way were my new substitute daddy. And so it was really hard to like let go and just go, all right, well, that's okay. I'll just find the next thing. It did collapse once I got to kind of be really mad at that and realize that I can reach those levels so long as there's this conversation around it. And, you know, I'm about to go into business again. It's the same situation is about to happen, right? There's another man standing next to me that is, you know, a mentor. Just having that conversation, like, you know, are you okay with that? And he actually said to me yesterday, well, I'm already made the decision that that's going to be okay 8 months ago before I even taught you this thing. And so it's just having that safety that I'm actually allowed to be there and I can trust myself to make all, like I got myself to here. I built this business to here. We've been okay. We've, you know, somehow ended up with potentially the greatest therapy that will exist in the world for the next 50 years until something else gets created or whatever it is. And that I get to be the first business to ever have that. Like I'm not screwing up.
I think it's like surprisingly the most amazing therapy to come in place, you're saying. And it's like you're surprised that you've called that in. And yet you're somebody, I think, that constantly, and I think Sarah said this as well, there's nothing that you won't do to progress your inner growth. Even if you're scared of it, it won't stop you. You'll go for it. So it surprises me that you are surprised that this has come in, like something of that level has come in to your world.
Well, a part of me is surprised, and then there's another part of my system that goes, oh, well, of course, finally, finally, you know. I think at 12 years old, I was like, knew that it was going to be that big, and it was just like suppression. And so very interestingly, this morning, no, it was last night when I came home and I was still unpacking that alchemy from the day before, and Deegan did a little mini one on me. And what it felt like was I had this like metal thing on my head, like holding all of the connection to God away. And so it was like all of those people along the way, as I was like, oh, I'm going to be amazing, was like, get down. And then as I was sitting in it, I was like, oh, this is actually the state of the world. This is actually what our entire collective consciousness is going through, is that we're like, realize that we're amazing and we can do all of these amazing things, and then societal and culture, and there is a suppression of like, take the medication, eat the bad food, listen to the bullshit stuff on the news. No, you can't be that. Australia is the worst, you know, get back down in your box.
Well, I think if we release our power in Australia, then the ripple effect around the world will be incredible in mass soul awakening. So I think that's why we're so...
Why do you say that?
Because this is getting a little bit off track maybe, but because we have the solar plexus of the planet here in Australia, from my understanding.
Yeah.
And that's where we
hold... Because of the power.
We hold our power. But over the power is always the fear. So it's the fear that we have to get through. And there was a lot, when the whole COVID thing was going on, there was a lot coming up around that. You know, you start looking on YouTube, and that's how I learned about it. It just felt really resonant for me, and it made so much sense that there was so much oppression here. We were pretty good in Queensland. I think we were pretty lucky here. But if that's released across the planet, if the solar plexus of the planet is turned from fear into power, I got a rush just even thinking about that.
Well, that's really interesting, right? Because at the start of all of this, and I knew that there was something like this that I had to do. I really knew there was something like this I had to do from a long time ago. It was like
You mean recovery jungle, or are you talking about alchemy?
I don't think I had either of those words for it.
Okay, but there was something greater than you.
Yes. So what I told myself was that you need to go and make a lot of money so that you can go and change the way addiction is dealt with, and get rid of all of the centers and make something that actually works. And I've never been to rehab. My brother's been a lot. I I have a cousin that's been. I've met a lot of people that have been, and it doesn't really work. And it makes me really angry. And the other thing that I know is that a lot of drug addicts end up in prison, and they don't need to go to prison. They need to understand all of the stuff inside of them that led them to the addiction in the first place, that led them to the crime. And it's all just an avoidance of the stuff that they can't process.
Yeah.
So what do we, and I know a lot of people in prison. Like I had a lot of boyfriends that went to prison. It was just kind of my journey, I suppose, to experience all of that, to get mad enough at it.
Well, and to have an understanding and an empathy for what people are going through.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't think prison is the answer, but the inner work is the answer.
Yeah.
People are crying out, they're in pain.
Yeah.
However, and the worse their crime, whatever that is, the more pain they're in.
Yeah.
You have a really wider opinion of what addiction really means. Do you want to talk further about that?
I think that we've boxed addiction into drugs and alcohol, and the drug addict is no different to the person that's addicted to food, or that can't get off their Instagram, or that can't put work down, or that can't stop exercising. And I know this from personal experience, and I've spoken about this so many times before, in that as a drug addict, it was like, oh, like I need to have this thing because I don't want to feel my stuff. And if I think back to me as an athlete, if something was hard, I must go for a run. As soon as something was a little uncomfortable, it was just I'd run and run. And if someone said you can't, no, you can't train, or someone ruined it, like some friend or family member like got in the way of the exercise that I had to do, it was like a total meltdown. Like I won't survive as a human if I don't get to go to training, which is just an addiction.
Yeah.
So it's an addiction, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with being an athlete, and I don't think there's anything wrong with working really hard, and I don't think there's anything wrong with like eating delicious food, or like all of these things can be beautiful tools and a beautiful experience. And if your soul is like, I want to get in the ring and punch people in the face, and that, like, sure thing, where is it coming from? And are you okay? Well, like, what would happen if you didn't get to do it? Are you going to survive as a human being sitting there with yourself?
Well, I know that you have been saying the last few days that you would love to get in another fight, have another fight to show yourself. So you were saying when you used to fight, you just fought because you're angry. And now you've done, a lot of inner work. I mean,
I don't know if it was because I was angry. I think there was anger inside of me. I fought because there was a lot of layers inside of it. I needed to prove that I could be the best in the world at something. I needed the approval of being amazing. I needed to look, I'm doing the things. I'm winning. There's a lot of that. And don't get me wrong, I love fighting.
I know
because
you
I love
do.
the violence. I love I'm back at Muay Thai training now, and it makes me I'm like, oh, I love this stuff so much. There are parts of me that love the violence, that loves the pain in it, that loves inflicting pain. I love the challenge. I love the struggle. I love pushing myself. I love seeing how, where I can get to. There is something joyous, and it's almost like an art in some ways as well. Like, can I do this really well? All of those things existed. I think the actual driving force inside of it was I needed to prove that I was the best. And I found this thing that was in the shadow, allowing me to avoid all of the shit that I didn't want to deal with. It was a good excuse to control my food because I had body dysmorphia, self-worth issues around my weight. So it was like this perfect setup to go, well, I'm an athlete. I have to starve myself. I'm an athlete. I have to make that way. You can't tell me that I should just not worry about the number on the scale. I'm an athlete.
And so what's the difference now? So I've seen you when you were doing jiu-jitsu, and I feel like there was always still this sort of longing. It was sort of something, you enjoyed it, but there was always a little longing to get back to it.
I've been told it before. When I had a couple of years off when I was getting clean, my boyfriend at the time said I think you really need to go back to training.
Yeah. You've got a lot of energy, and it's you've got to find ways to release it in positive ways, and part of that is the business, but there's a physical energy that just needs to be released.
Yes. And which is amazing. And there's one of our clients this week in his alchemy realized all by himself. I was so proud. When you're sitting there and you're like, I know what's going on, and then you say nothing, and they're like, oh my God. And he turns around and goes, I love the struggle. I love the struggle. And I was like, bingo. And so he had spent his entire life building things up and burning it to the ground and building things up and burning it to the ground. I'm like, I know that story far too well.
Oh, me too.
There's a part of us that loves the like, my dad even talks about it. He's like, yeah, I want to like, you know, with all odds against me, with mud on my face, crawl out and be like, oh, I made it to the top against all of these things. There's something more empowering about that.
Well, and I'm just thinking of the Rocky movie. Is that what, you know, like up those stairs, Adrian? I mean, that struggled and then you become great, but then what's next?
Yeah.
And that's maybe where we go, okay, well, maybe we need to burn it to the ground so that we can experience that euphoria again.
Yeah.
I know I used to go into do like contract work back in the day, and I'd go into places, I'd clear up their mess, and then I'd be like, well, what now? Next contract.
So from a struggle point of view, it gives me a little bit of struggle in the day so it doesn't end up in the business.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other part of that struggle side of it is I've now made the purpose so big in the business that it's going to be a struggle for a while.
Well, let's talk about that, because when did you started off this business as a way to help yourself recover. So there were all the tools that you used and then you made it into a business so you could keep it all in your life. Like, I know that about you. What happened? When did it happen that it flipped from being bigger than you? What's the why? What's the deeper vision behind it? What keeps you going?
Okay. So like I was saying before, I'll circle back to that moment of like, I wanted to make lots of money so I could solve the addiction centers. And then I was like, and if I really get that done, maybe I'll, you know, change the way prison is done. And that was just in the back of my mind. And so I thought I can build these amazing recovery centers and we can make 564 of them around the world. And you know, I'll have this big lump of cash and I'll have some power then and some authority and I'll be able to go and do something. And there was a moment 2 years ago where I realized that the jungle was a part of the problem because I was allowing people to bypass their pain and their issues and just keep recovering. And so then I decided to bring in the emotional work inside of it, which is when Sarah came in and the building the programs and dealing with the food and being, you know, speaking about eating disorders and all of this kind of thing. And that was really beautiful. I think the business went from like this, like the energy of the raging athlete fighter Hannah into the soft Hannah that had actually already existed and I just hadn't brought it into the business. And while we were running the programs, it was almost by accident. Like our clients were giving up drinking and I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah.
They came in to lose weight and then they would give up drinking. They would repair their relationships with their family. All of this magical stuff was happening. And I was like, hang on a minute. It didn't really seem to matter what we applied it to. It could be an inflammatory disorder. It could be they came in for weight loss, but they would stop drinking, repair their relationships, reconnect with themselves, do the thing that they knew they were supposed to do, find their purpose, quit shitty jobs, stand up to their boss, like all of this stuff which actually stops addictive behavior in whichever way that it is. And so it was like a moment of like, oh, I did it. I already did it. This is the thing that I said I wanted to do and now I've already done it. And so I think that really landed once Integral Alchemy became a part of it and I started delivering the alchemy and you started delivering the alchemy, and all through the programs that people have been coming through now, like it's not coming in for weight loss anymore. They're coming in with their addictions. They're coming in with their relationship issues. They're coming in with their procrastination. They're coming in with their inflammatory, like they're coming in for the deeper reasons of why they need to sort their shit out.
They're ready.
They're ready.
Yeah.
And so once I was like, it was just watching that happen and going, holy shit, like I accidentally made the thing that I always wanted to make. And I love that because through the whole process, it was like always just listening.
Yeah.
Oh, like even if it made no sense to anyone, like, sorry, we're throwing that out, we're doing this now. And just list like, oh shit, no, we have to make these people go away and this needs to come in. And okay, I'm changing it to this and this is going to be, and it was just this listening. I'm not sure, like this doesn't make any sense to the outside world. The amount of times I heard like, yeah, but is it working? Where's the profit sheets? Like all of this stuff. And like, it made me question myself so many times, like, should I really be doing this? Like the business people on the outside are talking about the numbers and the profit sheets and
what's the bottom line?
What's the bottom line? And it's like, I just didn't give a shit. I just kept listening and following and listening and following. And so there was something coming through and out of me that has ended up landing in, well, I made the thing that will change addiction. I made the thing that will stop burnout. I made the thing that could be applied to people that have committed crime. It can be applied to anyone in any way.
I absolutely agree.
So now it's like, okay, well, can we have this in the addiction centres? Can we find a way to build this up where, you know, not to give business tactics away, but this is the answer. And so the mission, let's make sure that this is the system that's people get to access when they're struggling. This is the system that people go to instead of AA, instead of rehab. This is now the system. The Integral Alchemy is the answer.
Yeah, because it's not about trying to control their addiction. It's actually about releasing what's inside of them that's causing them to hang on to that addiction.
Yeah. Not one time do I say you've got to stop. I'm never making people, because if you take away someone's vice before this is ready, they're going to hate me, and then they're just going to go back to doing nothing.
Yeah, and they'll just drop out.
They'll just drop out. So you let them have the vice until it's safe enough to be without it by doing all of that stuff that they've not let go of, and looking at it and feeling it and expressing it and being with it. And then there's no need for the vice.
Well, I think that's it. It just kind of will fall away naturally. The more that you bring in that's supportive, that's love, that's safety, and I think that we do a good job of providing that. And with some people that come through our programs, that they fall into that very quickly, and some it takes a little longer.
Yeah.
You know, it just
and
really
that's
depends.
okay.
Exactly. It doesn't mean anyone is wrong. And I think that is the beauty where we've been able to integrate alchemy into the whole business, whether they're in the cryo, whether they're in the compression boots. You know, it's all about understanding that they just need to feel safe. And then you see things just naturally fall away through their choice.
Yeah.
We're not saying, right, I love how that was, you know, that's what I say, that those observing months, the one thing that I loved then, alchemy wasn't fully in place then, but we were doing the emotional work, as you said. Well, we weren't. Oh, it was the food where, you know, we have guidelines and we have recommendations that this is where we want to see you. But, you know, if you've got to eat what's in your cupboard right now until it's gone, that's okay. If you have a few days where you're just eating the old stuff, that's okay. Just keep trying to come back and slowly but slowly. I mean, we had somebody who really struggled with following our food recommendations the whole way, but with the emotional work, still lost weight, still changed things in the structure of his life. You know, so many great stories come out of that. It doesn't have to be perfect, I think is what we're saying. If you're ready to do that deep emotional work, everything else will fall into line as best as it can.
It does fall into line. And the other thing that happens is people get their sovereignty because they learn themselves that, oh, well, I ate this thing no one told me not to, but it actually doesn't feel very good anymore. And because there's no one to like rebel against.
I've noticed this with myself. And this is maybe almost like a little vulnerable share here. This is almost like a little bit of testing. Oh, well, how far can I push this?
Yeah.
How far can I see how far my body can go? Where I've lost a lot of visceral fat and a lot of body fat. And I've also travelled through recently some quite deep core issues emotionally, and I have not. And even though so I turn to food, like, you know, it's just, you know, I'm not sitting there binging all day, but I'll have when I'm not hungry, and I might eat a little later at night than I maybe. And this is when it's been so big emotional in me. It's almost like that's my little comfort blanket. And I noticed that I haven't been putting on that fat. And there's something inside me that wants to see how far can I push that until I start putting that fat on, and then I'm going to be really good again, you know. So it's kind of like that, you know, let's build it up and burn it down, build it up and burn it down. That probably resides in a lot of us.
I don't disagree at all. And I've just watched it happen in myself, right? Like the last 3 months, I did all of this work around my abandonment stuff. It was so much abandonment stuff. That was hard and deep and messy. And as I did it, fat just fell off of me. And I was like, this is amazing. But my digestion like just sorted itself out. And I was going to the toilet and I was like, this is so good. You know, nice tight tummy when you wake up in the morning because you're getting rid of everything. And I was like, this is so good. And it dropped down so fast. So it was about 5 kilos of fat in 3 months.
Yeah.
Which people might go, oh, that took so long. But from the perspective of like, let's do this slowly so that it stays off, like that's a really good thing.
Yeah. Especially when it's the emotional side that's actually getting the weight off.
I get really frustrated with these boot camps that are like, you know, yeah, we can get 10 kilos off of you in 8 weeks. And it's like, don't doubt it. Done it in 3 weeks before.
Yeah.
But what happens after?
Yeah.
Your before and after photos are there. Oh, yeah, you got some great before and afters that you can post on Instagram. But what happens to that person after? And that's the cycle that most people go through. They lose it really quickly. They put it back on. They lose it really quickly. They put it back on because the metabolism slows right down. Their nervous system can't hold it. A big part of it. You can force it off. Can you hold it off?
Well, that's it. Nothing is sustainable. If it's done too quickly, it just can't be sustainable, because it's also moving through, when you're losing weight, you're shedding like a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
And you've been holding on to that for so long, it's kept you almost feeling safe. And then when it goes and you haven't actually done any integration with it,
yes,
it just will come back on, because that's when you feel safe. I know I've traveled through that myself.
Yeah.
You know, I talked to you about the other year, last year I was having a lot of colonics, and I was shifting like a lot of toxic waste literally out of my body. And one day was so big that I went to, like, there was nothing in my stomach and I felt lost. I felt lost, I felt empty, alone. There was all of this stuff coming up and I just didn't know what to do with it. So when it happens like that too quickly, the first thing you want to do is pack it back on.
Yeah. Well, I noticed it. So I dropped, like I got to this like lowest number I have been since when I first put on the weight after I gave up fighting. And I was like, oh my God, I did it. And my nervous system obviously wasn't ready to keep going. And so it was like, just crept up back a little bit. And I was like, all right, we're going to sit here for a little bit and there's some stuff to undo to get myself to this next level of safety, to be at this next level of low body fat. Now, not to say that I have a lot of, I'm like sitting at 20% body fat. It's very healthy. And there's a little bit left to do. And I love, you know, being a little bit vain. And I want to experience the world as being a super fit athlete and being able to put all the things on.
Oh,
and
why not?
That's not wrong.
No, not at all.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's, are you okay if you're not? Do you know what I mean? It's like, is your entire self-worth based on that?
Yeah, is that a goal that you're always striving for, that you're actually missing what's happening in the here and now?
Yes. I'm actually content as I am now, and I'm okay to be here, and I can be on the podcast and wear a bikini and do all of those things, and my self-worth isn't tied to it. And yet I want more for myself, and I want the best for myself. The absolute best. I want to be the best at all of the things. Someone once said to me, well, we get this one life and we've got this avatar we get to move through it with. Why not create it the most amazing avatar that you could ever be? There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to like get through life with the avatar, with the Gucci bag and the hair extensions and the things, like that's okay. So long as your self-worth and identity is not so deeply tied to that you crumble without it.
Yeah, you're standing in your authenticity.
Yeah.
It's very true. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong. We also have to remember we're all on our own paths and we come in with such different baggage and such different emotions and patterns and inherited, you know, lineage stuff that we have to clear. And yours looks very different to mine, looks very different to someone over there. It all looks very different. And that's why all of our lives look very different. Yeah. Seemingly some people come in, they have like blessed lives, and others come in and it's a real struggle from the get-go. And that's sort of the path. And it's about within all of that, coming back to yourself, finding your own authenticity, finding your own sovereignty and being able to stand in that regardless.
Yeah. So tell me about your experience through Integral Alchemy over the last 8 months. For context, I decided to train Deb in it. And a part of the training process is you must gruelingly go through, because you cannot hold this without
how can you sit in there and do a session with someone if you're not doing it, not done it? You've got to keep doing it. It doesn't stop at the training, like it's continuous. And so how can you possibly help somebody through their stuff if you're not doing it yourself?
Yeah.
And so I've done a lot of inner work. Like I've sat and cried and felt and all of this, but I think this is, and I was saying this to you yesterday, it's probably one of the first times where I've felt this is the beautiful thing about alchemy, within it, I'm not judged. I'm not told what to do. Things that come up in that session are not used against me in future times. And those three things are really fucking important. They really are.
I've experienced that with a therapist.
Yeah, and me.
Having the shit
thrown back
as a manipulation.
Shamed, like a shaming or something.
Or used.
Yeah.
As a manipulation to get what they want.
Yeah. So that just doesn't exist. And so I remember that first time with Gavin when we had that first time, and I was all like boo and poor, you know. I'm sure he remembers that too. And then and I found it like we went through the training. I think it's for me, I once I start doing it, then it all starts sort of feeling like that's kind of how I learn. So I've done it on you and Gavin and, you know, and obviously now with our clients. But for me personally, I think the most vulnerable has been the last couple of weeks, particularly because we have our weekly get-together, don't we, on Zoom, everyone that's training, and we practice. And sometimes we do little breakout rooms, do one-on-ones, but the last couple of weeks, I've been in the hot seat. And the first one was about relationships because, you know, I'm sitting there on a dating app in ghost mode for like probably the last 3 months. But, and obviously there's been stuff I need to work through. So that came up last week and and it was really surprising, wasn't it? So I'm there being filmed. This was being recorded for the training purposes and going through all of this excruciating, which I didn't even know was there. Like wanting to leave my body, feeling my body going into freeze at the thought of going on a date. And yeah, that surprised even me. So, and then yesterday was a lot. I was in the hot seat again, and that was a lot coming up about my mum and the pain and, you know, all sorts of, also being filmed, also, you know, in front of people. So to go to that, to be able to sit there and expose myself so vulnerably, I think if anyone that's known me back in the day would probably be, oh my God, I'm blown away. I'm blown away.
Yeah.
And you probably see that even from when I came in, you know, you're like, well, Deb always calls me out of my shit. I've never been like that before. That's something that's grown. I've always been the people pleaser, you know, chronically sometimes. So it's been, you know, I'm here, I'm at the jungle. It's not about the job. You know, it's not about the job. It's actually about the growth. Yeah. And I think that my soul loves to grow, even though my human sometimes goes, oh no, I can't do this. It's too much.
Constantly.
The resistance has been real, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've worked through a lot of that. And so to be able to show up on those calls in that way and be okay and not feel embarrassed or shame or anything like that that's been my alchemy journey. And I wish that for everyone. I see that happening so much in our clients, you know, like you say, people speaking up that haven't been able to speak up for years.
It's been amazing.
It's so wonderful. It makes me so happy.
Fast.
Yes, yeah.
In
it's
weeks.
Only 3 months. By the end, and sometimes almost at the beginning, like we're seeing now with people, right? It's there's always that tipping point. I've talked about this before. There's a tipping point. And it's so wonderful to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I love in comparison to all the, like, I have done a lot of things, all the plant medicines that you could possibly take, all the psychotherapy, all the, like, just everything I could get my hands on. And so I think that probably started, you know, the story, this entire podcast from the start is the story of it, right? Like it started when I was still an addict, seeing Rachel. And so 8 years, I suppose. Yeah. 8 years of stuff. And yeah, it got me somewhere. The stuff that we can do, like how quickly things can move now is just unbelievable. Yeah. Because it's somatic, not just cognitive. And I think that this is what happens. Even plant medicine is cognitive. Like, yes, you're in your body and all of these things are happening, but it's showing you.
Yes.
It's showing you the answers. It's showing you the way. Even like, you go to a therapist and they're telling you and and it's all in the brain. And so what happens is everyone gets this like hyper awareness and they think, well, I know what all of my problems are now, so they should go away. And they're walking around, oh yes, it's just because of my, you know, this trauma and that, and I'm really this, and I've been abandoned and I have this issue and that, and yes, it's all of these things. And so this is why I'm the way that I am. And it doesn't actually do anything. like in a little ways it can. And yeah, you can do mindset work and force yourself into a new behavior, and you can be aware of a thing and stop yourself from having a reaction or saying that reaction out loud or taking yourself into a new situation because you know that that's just why it is. But when you do the both things together, and this is what I love so much about it, is it's blended the two together where the somatic gets to speak and gets to release. And so the triggers aren't there. You suddenly can just be on a Zoom call and be really vulnerable. And it's not like I'm forcing myself to do it. It's that your nervous system's actually able to hold that now.
Well, that's, yeah. And interestingly enough, it's, I'm just reflecting as you're saying on yesterday, when you're saying about the body, it's actually, the mind might think it's ready to clear this or this or this, but the body is actually ready for something else. At work, you know, I've been traveling through a lot of rage. There's been a lot of rage, and everyone's been triggering me. And I've noticed that within myself for, say, the last week. And when we got on our call yesterday and I was put in the hot seat, we both thought, oh, this rage is going to come to the surface. And actually it was nothing like that, was it? It was actually hurt and pain about something completely from my childhood.
Yeah.
So like there was nothing to do with what was going on in our heads. Yeah. So I may have sat there and said, right, I've got to like punch this out in the pillow. I've got to do this, but it actually would still not have got to the root cause of what was causing that.
Yeah. So
yes.
even then somatic practices don't solve it. Because you can just bang pillows and shake and do all of this stuff. But what are you shaking? Have you accessed that yet?
Yeah.
Me and Deegan were talking about this the other day, and like I figured out in jiu-jitsu that before I stepped on to the mat before in a competition, all the adrenaline would rise. And if I just kept shaking, the adrenaline would leave my body and I could go on really calm. So yes, I can move that energy, and yes, that shakes things, and yes, it feels nice to do those things, but are you accessing the emotion? And so this is what I kind of love about ecstatic dance, if you can drop in, because inside of music and inside of feeling, and if you can really be with yourself and the music triggers something, you can find an emotion and then dance that out. But if you're just dancing for the sake of dancing, you might get some dopamine and endorphins, but are you releasing something that has been stuck, that is there to be felt?
I know that difference. Yeah. I know that difference when I'm dropped in, because I love to dance to move stuff out. And I know that difference when I dance and I'm in my body and I feel better. I feel complete when I come out, as to I'm just moving my hips. And, you know, there's a real big difference. Sometimes it's harder to drop in, but movement is great. But it does, getting to actually, well, we call it alchemy because it alchemizes. Yes. It alchemizes the emotion. And then it's gone, or at least that layer is gone. It doesn't mean that nothing will ever happen around that again. It may, if you're really at the bottom layer, but it's just very different, and it's so complete. Yeah, it's so complete. It could go that way, this way. It's just so complete. But it all comes down to whatever your body is ready to release, not your mind. Yeah. How would you contribute alchemy to, first of all, bringing in that relationship and then moving through that relationship?
I started working with Gavin for the business.
Yes.
Right. It was a mix of alchemy and marketing support. And so it was like opening up to receive. And I think about 2 weeks in, I was like, don't worry about the marketing, or just do alchemy. Once again, me forgetting that I actually know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yes, and you do. Yeah.
But the alchemy was amazing. And it was like, I couldn't tell you a single one of those sessions now. I feel like there's been 8 million dimension jumps since then. I don't even know who that person was. Sometimes he sent me screenshots of our Zoom calls, and I'm like, who's that? But at the time, I had been on the apps. So prior to that, it was at the start of that year, one of my friends had said, you've just got to get on the damn apps. And I was like, nope, refuse to, gross, not a thing. And so I had been off of them from a dating perspective and just been out there having a lot of fun and really, really enjoying that.
I was there for some of that.
Really finding out what it meant to have my needs met and ask for them.
Yeah.
And how that affected it was affecting the business magically, you know, I think we're doing very, very well.
We had a real boom at that point.
Real boom. And then after that was kind of complete, Deegan very randomly came into my life. I was actually in a different state, was addicted to dopamine and sugar and all of the things that I hated. Didn't want to go on a hike, didn't want to do anything. And I was quite mad one night. And so I was on my phone and, you know, finding some other distractions. And Deegan on his profile had something about changing the world. What do you want to do to change the world? And I was like, oh, that's a very good question. And so he said, I think it was ask me about changing the world or something like that. And so he gave me this answer of, I'd really like to solve pedophilia and child abuse and all of this stuff that happens around children getting sold and bought and used and abused and all this sort of stuff. And I went, well, most people just want to, drink enough on the weekend or, buy a white picket fence. And I thought, all right, I'm in this. And so we had a conversation with paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs about how the world can be changed from my perspective and his perspective. And he called me when I got home and we had this conversation when I argued with him about how time can be collapsed. And he was like, it absolutely cannot. And I was like, yes, it can. And he actually ditched me and was like, oh, I've started seeing someone else. And I was like, whatever, asshole. And he came back a couple of weeks later and was like, oh, I'm back. That didn't work out. And I was so angry. I don't get to be second. I am number one. I will be chosen first. And so I got out my swords and I made him fight really hard for me. And did all of the feminine testing that was possible and had tantrums and did all of the most dramatic things I could possibly do. And he just held it and disarmed me and disarmed me and held it and disarmed me. And I was getting so angry because my nervous system hadn't experienced that before. And so all of that learning how to receive had put me into a state where I could at least receive this moment of, okay, well, he's going to hold this anyway. And I remember it happened so fast because we had all of the hard conversations on the first day, kids, marriage, how much money do you want to make, who earns the money, all of this sort of stuff. And it was very clear that he could take care of himself. He had a good wage, all of these things. And so it was like, okay, well, this is a level of receiving. He bought me this Aura ring within the first couple of weeks. And he took me the first time, because he lived 8 hours away. So the first time we met at a cabin and we met for the first time on this romantic weekend. And I had opened up enough to receive, just enough to receive all of that. But I still had all of the swords out and did all of the chaotic stuff. And he just held it so well, just so well. And so all of the alchemy that I had to do from that was getting my nervous system to be okay with him providing and protecting and being in his masculine so I could soften. And I really had to work hard to actually just soften enough for him to be able to rise into that. I remember getting really frustrated with how perfect he would rock up. And do you remember that we would have those conversations? He would message me some perfect response to something and I would be storming up the stairs. Look what this asshole has done. All of the alchemy that had to be done was like getting my nervous system to be safe in safety, because all of my experiences had been chaos, violence, gaslighting, like just absolute insanity. And I hadn't been taken care of properly ever because as a teenager, it was like off on my own world. Dad had his new girlfriend and he messed up and he knows it and that's okay. It's all perfectly sorted out now. And inside of this year, like it has been very, very lovely, but because we've both been doing the work, he started doing alchemy pretty quickly. And that was one of the conditions almost, is like, I'm doing deep work. You need to come with me. And I remember there was a day when he realized, he was like, he didn't hold me very well. And he came back and he rang me up and he said, I need to step up or fuck off. And I realized that. And so, it's not been very easy for him, I don't think either, to have to face all of this stuff. We had mushrooms together on my birthday and he went through an entire process and I had to hold him through that. And he's had to go through some very deep things, as a man that hasn't been allowed to express his emotions. It's been quite challenging for him in some ways. And then also trying to make sure that we don't lose the dynamic where I become his therapist and he just becomes a crying mess. Like he's holding the masculine while also being safe to be held in moments. But we've had some pretty gnarly conflicts because of my abandonment issues and because he's an avoidant, because of our own stuff. And we've gone to Gavin for our alchemies inside of that. And in undoing my abandonment wounds and in him undoing the wounds that he's had, we've able to come back to each other and see each other for where we were at, and that we were wounded, and that this was it's not personal. This is because of everyone else that has hurt me before. And I think that people can end up realizing that, but then keep having the conflict and just having to have understanding that it's because you've been hurt so many times. Whereas in the alchemy, because the charge actually leaves, the triggers don't happen anymore. So there is far less volatility when we have conflict, and it's gone from it takes us a week to undo it to it takes us 30 minutes to be back laughing about it, because the charges are just so not there. And we're learning to change our behaviors. Like, we still have memory of how we would normally behave. And I watch both of us go, oh, that's just not there anymore. I think had there not been alchemy inside of this, we probably wouldn't have made it.
Do you think Deegan believes in collapsing time now?
Yes.
Because it's a pretty steep learning curve, isn't it?
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've both met the challenges coming into. How do you find the balance between wanting to soften and allowing your man to lead you and running a business?
Challenging in the ways of, I absolutely do have to be in my masculine sometimes running a business. And I have to make a lot of decisions, and I'm on a lot during the day, and especially at the start, it was the way I knew how to operate. And it's not like he's just fluffing around either. He's got a pretty gnarly job, and he's writing a novel, and he's doing all this alchemy work, and he's learning to be an alchemist, and he's doing 75 hard. Like, he's in that a lot too. So it's moments. It's moments inside of the day in not having to do everything all by myself, allowing him to bring me lunch, allowing that moment when he comes in to help, to soften in that moment. So my nervous system isn't just masculine all day and then come home and then be like, how do I now soften in this? It's like allowing it to rise and fall.
It's all weaving together.
We've set up sacred Sundays where we don't have our phones, and it's just for connection. And so pretty much when I finish work on a Saturday, it's a funny thing, because as I'm learning to soften more and to be taken care of and for him to lead, I want to pendulate so far to the other side that I'm like, what I would like is to not make a single decision from the moment I get home on Saturday, and I just want you to tell me what to do. Sit on the couch now, eat this food now. Like, I pendulate so far the other way. And he's like, all right, I can do that. And then he's like, hang on a minute. I need to do nothing too sometimes. So because I do so much in the week, I want to fully just fall to the other side. And it's learning that we can hold each other a little bit.
Do you think you feel like that because you've had to hold yourself up so much through your whole life, through everything?
1000%. And, you know, because he works away sometimes, the weeks that he goes away, I have to kind of step back into the masculine a little bit and look after myself a little bit more. And there's no protection energy in the house. There's no provider energy in the house. It's not necessarily the things that he does. It's the energy there where I can relax a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I notice when he's at work that I'm like a little bit more like, oh, I've got to hold it all now. And because I've been in that for all of my life, I really just want to let go. There's some days I'm like, well, maybe I don't need to do all of this and I can just lounge around. But I've tried that and my body doesn't like that either.
Coming from your fighting background where everything's been, you know, you've been very driven, very, like you say, forcing your way through a lot of things. How hard has it been to allow yourself to soften? And now that you're there, are you loving it?
So I think the softening started to happen when I quit fighting. When I quit Muay Thai, actually, slowly, in allowing myself to rest during that. My dog died, and allowing myself to rest in that. And as I softened and then the business changed, like it was a very gradual, like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. When I'm in it, I 90% love it. And there's a little part of me that I noticed that doesn't want to give up the control. I noticed when we were overseas, and it's not dramatic. It's, I can't see the maps while he's driving and I can't surrender to that. And I really want to bring in a board. You know, I really felt in the last few weeks like I'm actually ready to have some men sit around a table and give me some advice and, you know the legal stuff and the accounting stuff and, you know, lead a little.
Which is interesting, isn't it? Because that's been the thing that's, you know, you felt boxed in by before.
So it's a tension.
Yeah.
It's a tension. It's not like and this is what all of these things are, is they're tensions. And this is another beautiful thing that alchemy can do, is wrestle with that tension.
Yeah.
So the tension is that I want those things, and also how dare they tell me what to do, and I need to make all of my own decisions. So I want it, and yet when it comes to relinquishing the control, I'm a little bit like, so I take the steps. And I think this is a really important part sometimes, as you well know, Deb, is sometimes we do just have to take the steps. Even though we're like, I really don't want to do this. It's the actions is the integration.
Yes.
And then the things can collapse when you
Being
realize
called out right now.
It collapses on itself because as you undo this stuff, you start calling in other things. You call in a different level of human. You call in different experiences, and you need to go through it and realize that you're safe now in this.
Well, and sometimes you might take those steps and it doesn't end up going down that path. It actually, like you say, it actually opens up another door, and it's that way that you're going. But it's actually just as long as you're moving forwards.
Yeah.
In some way,
it
can all look very different to how you start.
Yeah,
the intention you think you have when you start.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I think this is, you know, going back to people go and do all this woo-woo stuff. They go and take plant medicine, or they do a breath work, or they do some kind of juju healing or whatever it is. And then they're like, well, I'm healed now. And it's like, no, integration is action. It is actually the action to change the behaviors, to do the new thing. Yeah. And it doesn't always land in that it's absolutely no resistance, because you've spent a lifetime being scared of it. So yes, the charge can be gone and you are actually able to take the step now. Doesn't mean it's going to feel like nothing.
No, that's true. No. But you can take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experiences in that.
I mean, I've been shocking. Probably let a lot of things slide because I haven't felt like I've had the capacity to take steps. And so I've always shied away from, I guess, stepping out. So this, even here, knowing this is going to go out onto the internet is quite massive. And I felt quite nervous coming in, to be honest. And yeah, there's other little steps. But what I'm saying now is I'm just trying to say yes. I say yes to doing this, yes to stepping up onto the alchemy calls. And then there'll be, you know, and that's still in like a little safety blanket of the recovery jungle for me. So there'll be ways in which I'll need to step out. One is going on a frickin' date. I mean, my God, people are probably going, what's so big about that? I don't know why it's so big, but
I think it's so big for a lot of
very
people.
Scary in my body.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And it's not about who am I going to meet? And this is what I'm trying to say to myself. It's not like, oh, it's got to be this person or this person. It could be, I could just go on 100 different dates maybe over the next year, and it might just be a lot of fun, but it will shift something. It will, you know, it will shift something in my body that will allow me to take steps forward in other areas of my life. So that's the one way, you know, sometime I want to hold a dance. For God's sake, that's got to happen, right? So there's lots of things like that. But I think this is where alchemy is really helping me to break down. I think I came into this world with so much fear that part of my journey was to break through that fear. Like it's been gripping at times from a young kid. It's been gripping. Me and my sister laugh about this, you know, like she's always, oh God, when you used to get all like upset, I'd be like, oh, here we go. Now we won't be able to go out, or, you know, things like this. So it's been there. It's been there from probably, you know, I came into this world wrapped in a bubble of fear. So that's been my path. And now that I can kind of see that, well, okay, it's almost like you can separate yourself from it. It's not me. It's just something I've got to work through. But it's been really difficult. But since I've been doing alchemy, it's been easier to sort of go, well, I do feel, you know, nervous, or this feels a little scary, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so I've got like a whole list of things I want to do. But the key is that I'm more in tune with my nervous system, and I can feel, this is where we these last two alchemies particularly, where I've really been shown the feelings that are laying dormant in my body, I can start to recognize, okay, this is what's happening right now, and just soothe myself there until I can take that step. So I think that's really important, is that we can still take these steps, which is something I've struggled with before, because I've just kind of almost collapsed into them, and then gone back, oh, okay, where I feel safe. And it's been teeny tiny steps. They're getting a little bigger now. It's just keep that flow going forwards, and not taking on too much so that it's sort of so overwhelming that nothing gets done, which has been another pattern. So full awareness around all of that.
It's so common, people actually know what they need to do.
Yeah.
If it was the answer, like if it was just eat less, move more, have the conversations, go on the apps, lift weights, everything's going to be great. Like everyone knows that.
I know, we all know, yeah. For some reason, it's like, well, what is that great saying? It's not actually your inadequacies or your fears that hold you back. It's the fear of the power that you might actually bring to the world.
Yeah.
And then we all get, oh, you're too much.
Yes.
Stop it. Sit down. Be quiet. Sit in the corner. Go into schools, and if you don't fit in that box, you're medicated, or you're branded as the naughty child, or, there's all these labels that come because you're not fitting into the norm.
And then there's all these people have all these experiences of boxes. They grow up in a religious thing, and there's a box. Then their parents have a box that they want to put them in, and then the school has a box that they want to put them in.
Rip the damn boxes up.
And then our entire culture has a box that we're supposed to fit in, and then everyone's got their own judgments because they've got their box.
Yes.
And so then it's like, you're stepping out of what my box is, now I'm judging you, and so no one can move.
Why don't you do it that way? I can't believe you're not doing this. Why aren't you? Well, because they're not meant to, or they can't, or they're in a different stage of life or something. If we could all understand that.
The power is a massive thing, and what happens if I'm in my full power, I watch terrify a lot of people. And it's, I think a part of this, burn it up, burn it to the ground, like build it up, burn it to the ground, is like you're about to step into your power.
Yeah. I've been burnt or put on the stake or plunged a knife through me in too many lifetimes before. Because of all the witch burnings, that's all in us somewhere, isn't it? When we've done that, male or female.
I mean, the most common thing that I hear when people are about somewhere between 4 and 8 sessions in is, I just want to help people. And they're in some job and they're like, yeah, I know, but I don't know what it is I want to do, but I want to help people. I feel like people have this innate gift for the world that's inside of them, and they're too scared to say it out loud, to be seen inside of it, because it's so vulnerable to be that authentic, that you might have something within you that could help someone. And so I'll just do my mundane thing over here, and I'll cover it all up with some wine and some food and some, things where I'm not really, it's all good. I can just be inside of this box.
Yeah.
What would happen if we were to open up the power inside of, even though it may look like that I say yes to everything all of the time, and I make all of the decisions in a split second and just go A-line into all of the things I've ever wanted to do, I still have that fear of my own power. Because for me, and I think this is probably true for a lot of people, I will lose, it has been so often, I will lose connection and I will lose belonging, because who's going to meet me there? Everyone just seems to be mad at me.
So you'll be up there, but alone.
Alone.
And that is true, I think. That's actually perfectly valid, because if you think about, and we have this with people coming through the jungle, when you start changing things for the better, I've had this where I've been on different ways of eating, cutting out the gluten and the sugar and all things like that over the years. And people start to sort of call you out like, oh, what, don't you have any fun? Or you shouldn't. That's a bit boring, isn't it? Or, you're always the only one. Even within my own family, I've always cooked a little differently for myself because no one wants to eat the way that I'm eating. And it just sort of gets a bit... you do feel isolated unless people start coming with you. They'll try and bring you down, because it's just confronting. And I think this can exist in all of us. It's confronting when someone starts to really improve themselves. it shines the light on all of those dark spaces within you where you're not doing that.
Yeah. And then this comes back to tribe.
Yeah, because then you either bring them back down to stay with you, or you start to rise with them.
Yeah. And so, and this comes into the shadow of tribe.
Yes. Perfectly said.
If the only way you've had tribe, because we need it.
Yeah.
It's, first we need shelter and food, and then we need tribe. It is such a core requirement. It's such a basic need that if to stay within it, we've abandoned ourselves, stayed small, shut up, done whatever we've had to do to keep tribe there. It's ingrained from a very young age, and you can go back into those things. And it's like, where did you first start abandoning yourself to keep tribe?
Because it's all conditional.
Yeah.
So you've got to, it's another box, right?
Yeah. And then there's a part of this where as you start to undo that, some people may come with you, some people may not. Does your tribe need to change? And how long will that take? And there's that fear of like, what if I'm alone for a little minute?
Well, have you just got to be prepared to walk alone?
This is what I actually do love about the recovery jungle, is that people can go through that and they're not. They can come in and there is a tribe inside of there.
Yeah, it's really... Well, tell me about that culture that you've created there.
In what way?
So why is it... What is different about the culture that you want to create than one exists in other workplaces, even recovery centres or similar places of wellness?
What happens inside of organizations is you've got, your big hierarchy up here that are not dealing with their own shit. And then everything is done from a place of force. You must do these things. I don't care how you're feeling. It's about productivity and make me the money and do your hours. And the rest of it is very irrelevant. And so there is no connection inside of that. There is no care for the human being. And the human beings inside of an organization, like, you're screwed without them.
Yeah.
The thing that you hear the most is the hardest thing to do in business is to find good people. And then you find good people, and how are you treating them? And so then you get all of this burnout culture because people go to work and they're not taken care of, they're not in connection, they're not seen, they're not heard, they're not validated. And so it's exhausting. They're not able to be their full expression of themselves. They're not allowed to say, hey, I want more. And so it's exhausting because there's a part of their soul that isn't being let out, which is draining. When you're not on purpose, it's exhausting because you're fighting against, I want to do this, but I'm not really doing this, and you should be, but you're not. And so it's exhausting. So then you go home and your family gets the scraps of you. And so then your relationships turn to shit. And it's just this, how is that helping our world at all? And if we were to have organizations where at the very top, people were doing work like this, they were having conversations very openly and honestly, and actually that makes me feel like this, and can we work through that? Can we sort out our problems from a place of love and care and compassion? And absolutely you have to do the work. Absolutely you have to do your job. Like, all of those things are important. But what I feel, and I know this is true because I'm watching it, if someone is deeply taken care for and they're in connection and they're seen and they're heard and they're validated, they're going to want to put in more. And so now you automatically get more productivity, more efficiency, a happier work. You get happy staff. What happens to the people that are coming into your business? They're experiencing on the other side of this a whole human. A whole human is taking care of them, that is not resentful at them, that is not mad, that is not, that sees them for who they are, that we're not, I'm up here behind my desk being the important admin person where I get to, hide from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that whole, walk into the counter and the counter person has the authority and the control. Do you know what I mean? And so breaking all of that down, and I just happened to work here on this particular day, and we are no different. And I just happened to be the CEO, but, I just work here. It's no different. Yes, my job role is to make decisions and stuff like that, but your wellness and what you have feeling about me or the business or in your life is just as valid as and important. And so you go to work and go, well, I get to belong.
Yep.
I'm in connection. I'm heard, I'm validated. And so now your job is giving to you rather than taking from you. So when you go home, you now have something to give, and you can operate in this way and be in connection and have hug. How many more open, vulnerable conversations have you had with people in your family because of the things you've done in your work?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's not always well received, but I've been able to have them. I was just thinking about what you were saying, you know, your job starts giving to you. I actually was messaging with a friend last night and I used those words, my job is nourishing me.
There you go.
So it's that thing that we talk about, isn't it, where it's weaving, it's not like, well, I'm going to work and I'm coming home and now I'm going to live.
Yeah.
It's actually living. It's part of my living.
Yeah.
So I think you've done a great job there, Hannah.
Thanks, Deb.
I know it's taken work and your inner work and being able to be open to having those uncomfortable conversations. And we've got better at them as well. So, yeah, I think you deserve a lot of credit there.
And I think it's not always about making it sunshine and rainbows. I'm not saying
no,
sunshine
there's still
and rainbows.
a job to be done. There are still people to be looked after. There's still practical.
But there's still, but some of getting to this is having really uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
And to butt heads inside of this in a way that is actually listening.
Yes.
I think that there is a false sense of, oh, we just need to be all loving and no, like that's bypass as well. It's connection, and connection isn't always easy.
Well, no, and also, you know, we can ask, like I can ask for what I want. I can say this is what I'm looking for, and there can still be a no in that. That's not going to be practical, or that's not what my vision is, or there's, you know, it doesn't mean that those uncomfortable conversations always get you what you want, but we can come to say like an agreement where everyone is still happy.
And it's also giving me as a leader, not sure how many people actually do this, but in my mind, it's Deb wants this. So in decision making, if something comes around where it's like, I can give Deb that.
I am very well cared for. Like I look at where I work and I think, you know, I came in, my back was a bit sore the other day. And so I was able to like hang in the yoga swing.
Yeah.
And my back's actually, that's really helped. You know, it's things like that. Gosh, if workplaces just had something like that, a recovery bit in their centre. I have worked at one place where they had 2 massage chairs for about probably like over 1,000 people. That's not a lot, but at least I guess it was a good start. But if you imagine if people were able to go to their boss and speak their truth.
Well, I mean, the other part of this, right, is because I think yes, addicts, sure, but also leaders of organisations and leaders of things in the world, if we get them to do this work, everything changes.
Everything
does. Having an aerial hammock and having a sauna, but like allowing people to have integral alchemy from the very top to having the people at the top of your organisation knowing how to deliver something like this.
I think you're absolutely spot on, because you can have all the stuff, but if you're not doing the work from the top down, the bullshit still filters down, and you need that aerial yoga 30 times a week instead of once.
This is how you get someone from being okay to being amazing.
Yeah. Because
had you not done all of this, would you be able to step up into the job role that you have right now?
Probably not.
Would you be able to, sometimes you're starting to move into a place where you can close deals, and there's just a whole very different Deb that's arrived.
Well, I think one of the
that's good for the business.
Yes, it is. Good for me too.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important things I want to add here is that I've been allowed to go at my own pace.
Yeah.
And some, like all of our clients, right, some come in and they move very quickly. I can be a bit of a slow mover, and I've been allowed to just, step forward as I'm comfortable, as I feel ready. And that's really important too.
Which was a learning for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when that landed, but I think as a high achiever, I've expected everyone else to be.
Complete opposites.
Actually allowing you to do that. Even the other day, it's in the little things. It's really in the little things. And I think becoming an alchemist has taught me this, in that people need to go through a process and you need to allow them to do that. So when you came to me and you said, I'm booking him to see Scott and do a PT, and that was locked in. And then you came back and you said, I'm cancelling. And I sat there and went, she'll uncancel. But I'll say nothing. Because if I had pressured you then, I guarantee.
It was almost like an alchemy.
And you just needed to go through that.
And to probably to speak it out loud.
And to be
And to
be
not
okay.
get told what to do.
Yes.
Yeah, so important.
So
Yeah.
important. And
Yeah.
that is what alchemy is sometimes, is people will come through and they'll go through, oh my God, this is what I need to do. And you need to just let that be okay. And then they figure it, people always figure it out on their own. When they say something you don't agree with and you're like, okay, fine, do that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, hang on a minute, no one's challenging me.
And then they come to their own authentic truth.
Yes.
All the time. And then they start to trust themselves.
Yes.
And then they can make decisions from a much more solid foundation.
Yes.
Yes.
If there is anything other than that, like that is all of it.
Yeah. That's what we all want. We all want to feel love. We all want to feel accepted, part of something bigger than ourselves, and safe. And part of that safety is being able to trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And know that you'll be okay.
Yeah. And that, Deb, is how we change the world.
Damn fucking right.
All right. Well, thank you. Is there anything else, do you think?
No, that was amazing. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. And, something that I never do on these things, but, for the endless speaking of recovery jungle, it is actually a centre in the Sunshine Coast that you can actually come to and have integral alchemy and cryo and compression and sauna and strength training and aerial yoga and in-body scans and nutrition and all of these magical things. And, there is one centre now, and it will become a bigger one, and then we will have many more of them in the years to come, I don't doubt. And until the entire process can slowly weave into culture.
That's how the world gets changed, isn't it? Change it at the top or change it massively